The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom has been out for a while now. However, many mysteries in Nintendo's latest entry into the series have still not been solved. One of the first questions that fans had was regarding the time skip between the ending of Breath of the Wild to the events of Tears of the Kingdom. In this theory, I want to present a potential answer to this riddle for your consideration. While the game does not directly say how long it has been, I want to point out some evidence and patterns that I'll use to give a precise answer to this query. A like and subscription to the channel is greatly appreciated. Be sure to check out some of the older videos on the channel for more esoteric lore about The Legend of Zelda. During the explorative intro of Tears of the Kingdom, it is immediately obvious that some portion of time has passed since our last foray into this version of Hyrule. Instead of picking up where Breath of the Wild left off, investigating a malfunction with Varuta near Zora's domain, we find the hero and the princess delving into the forbidden hollows of the castle's underkeep. After Link wakes up, we can arrive on the surface of Hyrule and see how things have changed during the time that has passed. We can observe Zelda's new look, the existence of the Purapad, Link's hairband and tunic being worn out. Plenty of signs that life has gone on in Hyrule since the days of the Calamity. But exactly how much time has passed between the opening of Breath of the Wild and Link awakening in the sky in Tears of the Kingdom? 6 years, 2 months, and 9 days. Was that number within the parameter of what you expected? There is a reason for such a precise answer. In order to build the case for this theory, we need to examine some patterns regarding Nintendo's handling of dates within the Zelda series. I'll list several examples of Nintendo's behavior when it comes to topics like these, but first, we'll examine a date that we are already familiar with: Link's birthday. In The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, Link's adventure begins on his birthday. But have you ever pondered the exact date of this event? We can unravel this mystery by examining the constellations that grace the night sky. The developers have hinted that Hyrule is situated on a fictional counterpart of Earth, and the evidence of this is that we can identify 3 real-world constellations in Hyrule's firmament: Cassiopeia, Ursa Major, and Orion. Given that the game is developed in Japan, it is insightful to adopt a Japanese perspective to determine when these constellations are visible in their night sky. By employing this technique, we can deduce that Link's birthday falls in mid-December, specifically on December 13th. What makes this date even more intriguing is that it coincides with the Japanese release date of The Wind Waker. The developers went out of their way to match up the constellations with the time of year of the game's release. This move certainly smacks of Nintendo's typical MO. Keep this trend in mind, and let's go a step further and apply this logic elsewhere in The Legend of Zelda. In Breath of the Wild, Princess Zelda struggles to gain the sealing power that is her birthright. In her quest to unlock the power within herself, she has prayed to the 3 springs of Hyrule over the course of her life. However, Mount Lanayru, home of the Spring of Wisdom, is off limits to those who have not reached the age of 17, due to Hylians believing that people have a lack of wisdom until that age is reached. On Zelda's 17th birthday, she is finally permitted to make the ascent up the mountain and pray at the Spring of Wisdom. If Nintendo is continuing to follow the same admittedly shallow pattern that they established with Link in The Wind Waker, it could possibly mean that Zelda's birthday in Breath of the Wild is on March 3rd, the release date of the game. In Skyward Sword, the opening segment of the game tasks the hero with a Loftwing race. This race, a sort of graduation milestone for those attending the Knights Academy, takes place on a special day. While milling about during this section, the astute Professor Owlin makes this remark about the significance of the day. This comment is an allusion to Zelda's 25th anniversary in 2011, which was the same year that Skyward Sword originally released. Elsewhere in this particular game, Link must travel to the desert to meet with the ailing dragon Lanayru. During their conversation, the dragon god offers to give Link a model number just like the robots. The designation that he suggests is LD Link 16. LD for Lanayru Desert, Link's name, and the number 16 to indicate that Skyward Sword is the 16th mainline game in the series. Nintendo seems to follow this kind of mindset even outside of the Legend of Zelda series. For example, you are probably familiar with the Mario Brothers' last name being Mario. In essence, their names are Mario Mario and Luigi Mario. The same can be said for the hero, whose surname is also the same as his given name, Link. You can see from these examples that Zelda's developers are quite on the nose when it comes to this type of topic. But that still leaves us with the question, why is the time skip in Tears of the Kingdom 6 years, 2 months, and 9 days in length? The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was released worldwide on March 3rd, 2017. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom released on May 12th, 2023. The amount of time that has passed between those dates gives us our number of 6 years, 2 months, and 9 days. As we explore the land of Hyrule in Tears of the Kingdom, we can observe many things that seem to support a time frame like the one in this theory. Let's briefly look at a few examples of those. Hudson and Ronson, the leaders of Terrytown, made their matrimonial vows during the events of Breath of the Wild. When we meet them again, we see how they have spent the years building up the town. More importantly, however, they have raised a daughter named Madison. While we don't know Madison's exact age, we can safely deduce that she is not a baby or a toddler, and also that she is not around the age of a teenager. Her age, in my opinion, would be a bit lower than the amount of time that passed during the time skip, perhaps around 5 years old if she was conceived shortly after their marriage. In Breath of the Wild, Death Mountain was in a state of activity due to Ganon's influence after decades of being dormant. Lava flowed from the summit continuously during that time and was a prominent feature of the area, requiring Link to gear up to be able to withstand the intense heat. When exploring the surface once again in Tears of the Kingdom, the once fiery peak has now cooled significantly. According to a quick internet search, generally speaking, lava flows that are 20 to 30 meters thick can take 2.5 to 6 years to solidify. Using a no-clip camera, we can get an idea of how thick Death Mountain's deepest lava flows are, and this could loosely support the idea that an extended amount of time has passed since the days of the previous game. One of the most common things that folks discuss when ruminating on the topic of the time gap is the differences of the character models between the games. Tulin and Riju, for example, have grown up quite a bit since the days of the previous game and have become young adults. While it is true that some characters who were children in the last game, such as Shamay, still retain their childish model and don't seem to have grown much at all, there may be a plausible explanation for this. Perhaps people in Hyrule simply mature at different rates, just like people in real life do. This can be seen with the Zora character named Finley, who remarks how she is a late bloomer and has not gotten her growth spurt yet. It's possible that the same is true for Shamay. While characters like Link, Zelda, and Purah have shown that they are anomalies when it comes to the passage of time, there seems to be enough evidence among the citizens of Hyrule to support the idea that the length of time between the release of the games is literally the length of time between the events of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, thus giving us our answer of 6 years, 2 months, and 9 days. Were you one of the people who had this figured out right away? Or do you think that this theory is overlooking some key evidence and misses the mark? Leave a comment for us and drop a like on the video as well.